Welcome back to our program, bringing you this episode of We Connect from the Great Lakes Institute of Management, 60 kilometers outside of Chennai City. And my guest here today is Professor Sriram. He's the Executive Director of this institute. Thank you very much for staying right there with us. At the end of the day, do you believe that your one-year program, do you think that you might be cramming too much into it?
We certainly had these, I would not say apprehensions, but these concerns in terms of how this is going to work out. Though there are schools in Europe who have been doing one-year program like IMD, INSEAD and institutions of those kind who have been doing a fairly good job over years. That gave us the courage. What also gave us the courage is that if you really very closely look at a traditional 2-year program, it's actually 18 to 19 months program, because you take away 2 summers,
yes,
which is about 5 months out of 24 months, and you take away some of the term breaks and holidays and things like that, it's practically 18 months program. So the whole question was that
it's only 6 months short.
Exactly,
then.
why instead of stretching 18 months to 24 months,
yes,
if you can do it in 12 months time. And then we also ensured that the people we take come with experience, so that you don't have to you don't have to start with a 101 kind of level. You can start at a much higher level, because they got exposure to how things work, how things happen in real life. And we also very carefully looked at the courses, syllabus. There tend to be quite a bit of overlap among courses and things of this kind.
Right.
So we kind of reduced that overlap and redundancy. With a combination of all this, typically in a 2-year program, people do classroom maybe about 4 or 5 hours. In our case, maybe we are doing it for 6 hours.
Right. So
and
it's just a slight
it's not a big deal increase. And given the fact that these people come with experience, given also the fact that we very carefully looked at the syllabus and then cut out redundancies, overlaps and things like that, we have been able to put together a decent course. But in spite of all that, since most of us are used to a 2-year program, there were certain concerns right in the beginning. But over years, when I look back now, 7 years have gone, I find that it's a good deal in terms of value proposition.
Right. It's probably just a mental block that we're talking
I think so.
about. Yeah.
And our founder, Professor Bala, often talks about money value of time rather than time value of money. He says there's opportunity cost for time.
Interesting, very interesting. So you keep on referring to the word and you keep on using the word experience. So now my next logical question should be, when people come to you with experience, are they willing and are they in fact amenable to going back to the student role? Do you find that that's a problem at all?
To some extent it's a problem if the experience has been longer.
Okay.
Now we have a minimum of 2-year experience. There have been instances where people have worked for 10 years and 12 years, and then for them to get back into a student mode takes some time.
Really?
But our average experience is about 3 and 4 years. And in most of the cases, we haven't found a serious issue in terms of them being able to go back to a student mode. In few instances where the experience has been longer, this was an issue, but over time they also figure out. One thing I realized is that no matter how many years experience you have, the moment you go back to a classroom, you
become a student again.
Yeah, you become a student again. Your reference point is when you were a student last.
That's right. And so, also I would imagine that sometimes we as Indians might have a problem in terms of we really need to be willing to learn or relearn or reinvent the wheel. Do you think that that's a right way to be looking at it?
That is an issue, but then the 2 things which are in favor of us, that on an average we have what I call as native intelligence.
Indeed.
We are quite smart in that sense.
Yes.
And number 2 is that we are used to a much more uncertain, complex environment.
True.
Chaotic.
That's true.
If
chaotic is the right word. That's the right word.
And this has kind of prepared us for all kinds of changes, all kinds of dynamic things which take place. So these 2 things enable them to kind of cope.
You were talking earlier about there being at least 3,000 business schools in our country, mushrooming like mad over the past few years. At the end of the day, are we really producing the world-class professional that we need to be to actually take his or her place in the modern world? I mean, India, we're going to be overtaking China shortly. Are we equipping our students, our future managers, in the right direction? What do you really think?
I would think maybe the top one, maybe top 30, 40 schools do. The rest, I don't think they are in a position to do that at all, and it's a matter of concern. Because the way you gave a right example of China, the way they are investing, in producing college graduates, investing in education,
teaching people English, yes.
Their ambition to have many of their universities coming among the top universities in the world, and the kind of investment that they are systematically making is going to be a matter of worry. As a matter of fact, if one thing we should be worried about is not the infrastructure China is creating, not necessarily the kind of economic power they built, what should be worrying us is the kind of investment they are making in education. Should be a matter of great worry for India.
Right.
If you are to look at it in a competitive
that's the only way we can look at it, isn't it?
So, certainly. And so it's a matter of worry, certainly. And
right.
I don't think we have got our act together. I don't think we are adequately prepared. I don't think we are producing, whether it is engineering, whether it is management, enough quality managers.
Right.
And it doesn't even look like that at this point of time we have the capacity to cope with the kind of need which is coming up.
Right. You also have tie-ups with a lot of the really good foreign universities. How is that working? I'd like to talk to you about that.
This kind of relationship works in more than one way. One of the obvious things in which it works is that we get to have access to the faculty members from these top business schools. Any one of those institutions we are tied up with.
Right.
And that substantially enhances the kind of quality of education that we give. Everything said and done, cutting management practices take place in the United States.
Right.
And when you have got set of faculty members coming from some of the very good schools there, coming and sharing their perspectives, it makes students realize what it takes to be a global manager.
Right.
And so that's one kind of input that we get from this relationship. The second kind of help that we get, or the benefit that we get, is that these faculty members collaborate with our own faculty members here, whether it is joint research, whether it is joint teaching and things of this kind. So in that sense, it improves the intellectual capital of the institution.
That's important, of course.
It's very important.
Yes. And when we get back after another very short break, we'll talk with Professor Sriram about some other aspects of this institute and what it means to produce good business professionals in the future. So you don't go anywhere.